Hey, Greg.
Hello.
Hi, Susan. Okay, so I just started God, and now I woke up like an hour ago, and I was getting ready to. Is that a good starting music?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
It actually, I think I'm actually still finishing up some food, so I'm going to mute myself and then I'll unmute before the meeting starts.
Okay, okay. But you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll tell you a couple of things that you may want to remember. So the way it's going to go is I'm going to have introductions. I'm going to first introduce John and then Josh. Then I'll ask each one of them why they're running and their background and experience. Then after that's done, and just give them, a little bit of leeway in what they want to talk about. And since this being the first meeting, we'll be a little more relaxed on the time standards, because that's just one. And then after that, they can choose to answer the 3 questions each. And after that, I'll keep the chat open. And when they answer their questions, give them about 3 to 4 minutes. If it goes to 5, then kind of, do you have some kind of ringer bell or something that you'll let us know? Hey, Susan.
Sorry, I forgot. I was talking. I forgot I was muted. Yeah, like I
Um,
mentioned in the email, I got the beep. I've got something that will beep and then alarm.
okay.
But
So
what I can do is maybe have it beep at 2.5 minutes and
no, beep at 4 minutes. 4 minutes.
beep at 4. Okay, and then alarm at 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then each candidate can ask 2 questions to the other candidate and give them like about 3 or 4 minutes each. And then I'll be having the chat open and I'll see what questions people have. And, hopefully you'll have a question just in case. And by that time, it'll be 30 minutes pretty much. And as they go back and forth, and I guarantee you, these two guys are going to be definitely, chatting. I'm going to start allowing people in. If you have any other questions, ask me. I'll let them in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good.
And do you have any predictions to make about anything in this world? Think of something, okay?
Predictions? Oh, is that what you're going to ask them?
Just one. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to let people in and we'll get going. Radio silence from now on, unless you want to talk.
Okay, I'll mute until I need to time keep.
All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody.
Good evening, Ramdas. Hey, Josh. Hey, what's going on, Ramdas? How you
Hey,
doing?
good evening.
You
Good
guys
evening.
hear me over there?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'm just looking. There are some people who are asking me last moment how to get in and stuff. I'm just letting them in. So you guys can talk. We have a few minutes, so you guys can get started politely.
Of course, why would it be otherwise?
I know. I know. Oh, come on. Okay, good. That's taken care of. Okay. Okay, let's see lighting. I'm gonna turn on some lights because it's gonna get dark and the big clouds are coming up.
Who's serving coffee?
All right. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so I have done this. I have to let people in one by one as a security feature because I mean every single Zoom meeting I've held so far, people have behaved well, but I've heard some wild stories of gate crashers and weird things happening. So that's why I'm sorry if some of you guys had to actually get a Zoom account and all that inconvenience. But since we're doing this the first time, I figured we just do it in the right way.
Well, and this will be a good dry run for the rest of them in a few days.
Yes. And just a heads up, since we are only having one today, we'll kind of let you guys, if you both are in agreement and you want to, talk a little more, a little less, however it goes, it's okay. We'll still try to keep it at 30 minutes as much as possible, but it might go over a little bit, and that's fine because we are rusty.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk. Yeah, is this the first debate like overall that you've done, Ramdas, or?
Yes. Oh, not. I mean, in Mensa, yes, but I have done it in other forums in the past.
I will say that while a few minutes over is okay, I'm actually at a regional gathering this weekend, and I have a 9 o'clock Eastern session about meet or talk about the national office or whatever kind of session. So I will have to duck out, reasonably soon after the 30 minutes are up. So.
Sure. Yeah. That's fine.
I'm flexible.
I will also say that I'm on a hotel Wi-Fi system, and Lord knows how well that's going to work. Right now, it seems to be okay, but if it turns out that it's not working well, I don't know. Maybe I can kill VPN or something and help it. But let me know if that should happen.
As a backup, maybe you should log in through your phone and keep that on mute. In case there's a disconnect on the Wi-Fi, then I've done that in the past. Because the phone is a cell signal and it's independent of the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, Sam, I'm up in. Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm up in New Hampshire, and we had no power, internet for 2 days. And I just got it back yesterday.
Hello, Shirley. Hello, Nancy. I'm going to say hello now because I'm sure hopefully more people will be coming in, and I won't be able to do that. Hi, Greg. You're number one, first person joining in, and Shelton and Rhonda. Oh, I got to mention this first. Rules.
So as I have a question as the timekeeper. So since John needs to, we need to stick to a hard 30-minute thing.
Yes.
Do we want to stick to do we want to go to 3-minute times or what's your thought?
Yeah, sure. 3 minutes is good.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what just changed?
Well, Ron was thinking since there's no other meetings that, it'd be okay if we run a little longer and instead of like 3-minute answers, y'all could have maybe like 5-minute answers. But it sounds like you have a hard stop where you have to leave. So I asked if we should stick with that.
Reasonably hard. But yeah, I mean, the introductions, I assume, are still going to be 4, but the questions were the 3, just as planned, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as planned makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see if I can change my background.
It's in your settings.
Yeah. Well, all right.
Will you also be hosting the other meetings?
Yes, I will. Well, not all of them. So I have given the opportunity for some of the moderators. I opened it up for whoever wanted to do it. And Susan's going to be at the Mind Games, and she has the time. She will moderate one of the meetings. Kelly Lewis is going to do one, probably 2. And the rest of them I'll be doing. This year. Maybe in 3 years we'll change and have more people take a shot at it. So I did host one here for the Indian community with all the candidate for governor for the state, candidate for attorney general, candidate for Senate. It was part of the Indian community outreach Q&A, and had some sheriffs, some legislative district members, and it was pretty good. It was supposed to be for 1 hour. It went to 2 hours, believe it or not. So, yes, Amanda.
Good evening. I just want to say thank you for arranging this. I think it's cool that we're trying something new and working to just build up our knowledge of the different candidates for the election. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, welcome. So I kind of forgot to add in that initially I'll be just doing a quick 1 to 2 minute talk about why this is happening or why I'm doing this. So that might make it go over 30 minutes. So, but
I think it's in there. It was on the original plan that you sent me.
yeah, I'm not going to give a big old speech, and people say I'm going to give short and they'll start thanking the whole world for things. I'm not going to do that.
Well, I probably was not the only one who did not open Zoom until right before I tried to get on, and so it had a lot of updates. So I imagine there's some people that are trying to, get on that are having to go through that update system first, because that delayed me about 10 minutes, FYI.
Okay. No worries.
And I think it's great. Oh, sorry. I think it's great that you're recording because, I know sometimes people don't always check Mensa Connect on the regular. So, at least that way, since it's recorded, people can go back and check it out. And we can promote it after as well.
So long as the candidates don't mind, Josh, were you informed in advance that it would be recorded?
I don't think so, but recording is cool with me.
Yeah, I think maybe in the future, Ram, to let people know, because I would want to know if I were, one of the debaters.
Okay. Is John okay with that? Gruebele?
He's looking
Yes,
at
I'm fine with it. Thank you. I too would have appreciated notice in advance, but I'm cool with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Sherry, for letting us know.
Sure.
Okay, we are 2 minutes out. So is everybody here going to mind games, or most of them, few of them?
No,
Yes.
I never go to mind games. I go to the AGs and a lot of RGs, but I play games. I just don't go to mind games.
Cool. I've always wanted to go to mind games, but it conflicts either with my kids' spring break or something else. Maybe from next year I'll make that a plus. Okay, we're 1 minute out.
I hope you don't mind. I spotted it on Mensa Connect and I shared it in Firehouse of I just I hadn't seen posts of it and I'm not real sure how I managed to see it and Connect somehow. But I felt like it was a great idea and figured I should throw it out there to a few more people because I didn't see a lot of traction for it on Mensa Connect. But I really appreciate that you're doing this as sort of a live format of sorts. So I don't know if for the secondary debate that you're doing for the other contested things, if you'd be okay with that. And I didn't ask anybody when I posted today, like, hey, you guys, check it out. They're debating the second vice chair thing. If you'd be okay with posting information in some of the Mensa only Facebook groups, because I think that's where a lot more people interact rather than just the Connect forum.
Yes, I did post it on Facebook about 4 or 5 days ago, and also about 40 minutes ago. I'd also posted in hospitality. For some reason, my Gen X invitation is still pending. I don't know why, but I did ask other folks if they could be kind enough to post it. And I posted Mensa Connect, and yeah, for the next one, the thing is, I just don't want to send daily reminders, so I figured 1 or 2 would do, but I'll try to publicize this more.
I mean, again, I don't think, there's a few of us that wouldn't mind, posting it a day or two before just to sort of give people the heads up about it. Because everybody just uses so many different platforms. It's difficult to reach people, I know. And so if you're not in this group and that's the only group where a Mensa interacts, then, you kind of miss out. But anyway, regardless, thank you. This is brilliant. And I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So thank you very much. So it's past 5 o'clock, so I'm going to get started. And I'll keep looking here, because people are still coming in. I have to let one at a time. Thank you all for coming. One sec. Yep. Thank you all for coming. And I've been a member of Mensa since 2012, and I used to always look at the old newspaper for the different candidates' statements. And I always used to wonder, like, in real life, how would these people be? I used to attend the AGs, but I was very apolitical, and I was just a regular run-of-the-mill guy. And the last 3-4 years, I have become a little more attuned to what's happening. And so I figured one of my favorite shows used to be the John McLaughlin Group. I don't know how many of you guys ever watched it, but when I first came to the US, that was my go-to show because it was balanced. It had people on both sides. And I used to watch that weekly. Anyway, I thought, okay, let's do a tete-a-tete with the candidates on who are running for office and just let them kind of, give out their viewpoints and talk to each other, ask questions, and it'll elicit more information. Because I think, we Mensa is a good thing, and hopefully we'll do our best to keep it going as in the current form. And the best way to do that is to have good candidates in positions of leadership and on the executive council. And the best way to do that is to have debates and discussions in public rather than private executive meetings. So having said that, we can get going. Our two candidates for the RVC chair are John Gruebele and Josh Heinzl. And again, thank you all for coming. And that goes without saying. You're giving up 30 minutes of your valuable time for the future of Mensa in a way. And I always keep an open mind before I cast votes. You want to listen to people. In fact, even next week, we're going to have all the other contestants coming on. So it's better not to prejudge people, go with what they say, read their resume, read their ideas and plans, and also their responses to questions. Because sometimes when things are tailor-made ahead of time, it's super easy. But when you're confronted with difficult questions, it might get a little tricky. So having said that, we have John Gruebele. He's the RVC Chair 4 and also Chair of Strategic Planning for American and International Mensa. He's a RG Co-Chair and Proctor and a member of the Name and Logo Committee. He's a president for a not-for-profit organization and serves on 3 more boards. And everything else, I'll let him talk about it himself. And so the other contestant is Josh Heinzl. He started at the age of 12, founding his own company. And then he captained the robotics team to win the world championship. He founded a second company at the age of 15, Josh's Toys and Games, and now it is New England's largest mall chain of toy and games stores. He was the youngest chief executive group member of Visage International, and also the co-coordinator for EP6. And he was elected the vice president of the Society of American Magicians 5 times. So let's see what magic he brings to Mensa. So I'm going to let both of you guys one at a time, starting with John, who you've lived and worked overseas for much of your professional career. Kind of go over why you're running for this position and what you have to talk about your background. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Ramdas. Appreciate you organizing this event. And thanks for everybody who logged on. I really appreciate you taking the interest in this election. It's sad that not very many of our Mensa members actually vote in elections. So I personally appreciate you checking us both out and picking the best one. That's totally awesome. Ramdas did mention a few of my credentials, got most of them directionally correct. Basically, my concern about running for office is that we need to desperately execute on our strategy. Ramdas mentioned that I was chair of both the American Mensa and International Strategy Committees. And a few years back, we came up with what I thought was a pretty darn good strategy. It was short to the point. People could remember what the heck it was. And in very short terms, number one, it was about let's get some new members. Number two, let's keep our existing members happy or make them even happier. And thirdly, let's find some money somewhere besides dues, because we don't want to see the kind of dues increase that just got passed. And for the record, I did vote against that motion when it came before the AMC both times. And unfortunately, we've fallen somewhat short of our strategic ambitions, but that doesn't mean we can't keep going and make some headway. Now, as far as my credentials are concerned, I have a very long history of volunteering for MENSA. I've been this regional vice chair that's in the North Central United States for the last 7 years. I've gotten the National Chairman's Service Award, National Certificate of Appreciation. Before I got onto the board, I was a LOCSEC within Region 4 and basically took a local group that was totally inactive, revitalized it, and we ultimately won some national Jewel and Owl awards, which I was pretty proud of. Professionally, I've managed corporate organizations with up to 100 professionals. I am a certified expert at implementing process and quality improvements, which I think is very important for the second vice chair position, because that's a big part of what it does. Is we run special projects, and I certainly know how to do that. I've done coached or trained hundreds of people through hundreds of projects, anyway, we need more of that. As he mentioned, I'm also currently on the research and name and logo committees. I'm also on the governance task force. Formerly served on the Leadership Development Committee, the Transition Committee, Event Safety Task Force, and the AMC Testing Officer Liaison. I've been co-chair of a couple of different RGs. I have served on 4 not-for-profit boards. Right now, I'm only on 2, but one of them is actually larger than American Mensa in terms of revenues, about the same in terms of employees, and I'm president of that organization. 7 years of my adult life I've lived overseas, but I've also, for almost all of my career, worked worldwide, and that's given me an interesting perspective, and I'll talk more about that a little bit later. So I'm a senior member of the American Society for Quality. I'm a professional member of the Association for Computing Machinery. I have an MBA, a Master of Science in Computer Science. I have a Bachelor of Science in Accounting and Management Science. So I've got a lot of credentials, but credentials only take you so far. You actually have to do things. And as an AMC member, you're really only one of 15 votes, but you have to work through the various committees and attempt to make the changes that you can. Another thing I did was I proposed a motion to cap our administrative and general, aka overhead costs. Sadly, that one didn't pass, but I'm always looking at the finances. We have a net asset deficit that needs attention. I vote for budgets that give us a net positive bottom line, but I don't know where I am in my 4 minutes, but I'm at this point probably rambling. And in any case, Mensa is my passion, and I would love to see me being able to contribute again as second vice chair.
Okay. And so now we have, thank you for, explaining your background and your plans. Now we have Josh, who's going to say something about himself.
Thanks, Ramdas, for hosting us. Appreciate it. Thanks, John, for coming and talking with us today. And thanks everyone else for coming and putting your important time. I really appreciate it. So my name's Josh Heinzl. I joined Mensa 12 years ago. I became a life member in 2017. I currently serve as the National Coordinator for Gen Z and the National Co-Coordinator for EPG SIG. Ramdas said a couple things about me in the introduction, so please forgive me if any of it's repeated. I started my first company when I was 12, selling spare parts to my robotics team online. I captained that team to win the World Championship, and then right after that, I parlayed that into opening my second company, Josh's Toys and Games, which is now New England's largest mall chain of toy and game stores. I currently own and run that company, as well as some related e-com ventures. Personally, I am a magician. And like Ramdas said, I was elected the vice president of the New Hampshire chapter of the Society of American Magicians 5 times. I also enjoy scuba diving, underwater photography, martial arts, reading, strategy games, and game theory. I want to talk about Mensa. And I think that we are facing some serious issues right now, and there's significant opportunity to fix them. And I think it's really important not just to talk about credentials, but to talk about the specific issues and opportunities that we have. So for example, a big question people ask is, where do our dues go? 46% of our non-event expenses go to staff. The actual benefits that we receive, only 13% goes to local group support and 6% to our publications of our non-event expenses. There are revenue generating opportunities, but primarily we need to decrease our expenses. 46% of non-event expenses going just to staff is way too high. It's way too much administrative overhead. I do have some ideas as well for increasing non-dues revenue that I'll touch on later. Regarding the recent dues increase, did you know that we spend a similar amount on wages to what we spent before COVID? Our base wages have been around $1.4 million, not including taxes and benefits, since 2017 to 28. You can go look at it in the financials on our website. It's all available for you there. Some of the specific issues that I see are that we have a lack of problem resolution and communication. Our annual gathering costs are too high and the benefits are decreasing. We have a lack of transparency. Mind games itself should generate more revenue, and our testing is broken. We need a comprehensive process for handling issues, widespread, consistent communication about the process that is conspicuous, and accountability that all of those things happen. Just to speak to some of the other points that I brought up, regarding the AG, we need to better structure and enforce our hotel contract, which I'll talk more about later when we talk about the AG. For transparency, we need more granularity in our financial reporting, especially for large line items. And this is both for our audited financials and for our budgets and in normal quarterly financials. For mind games, we should charge large manufacturers more based on the size of the company, similar to how some industry group memberships work. I think that's a really big non-dues revenue opportunity. And I think that we need to reevaluate the financial impact and the opportunity of owning the MENSA test. We should also reevaluate the prior evidence submissions that we do accept, and we may want to increase incentives for our own MENSA proctored tests. Right before this, I logged on to see what are the details for testing. Running a testing promotion right now. There were no tests available locally by me, and it required that I went to create an account in order to try to get the purchased $99 testing that you can get now. It's not very user friendly. Like, the website is slow, and looking at all of this holistically, looking at our digital presence, look at our marketing and our spend, which again I'll talk about later, is really important. And in order to get more members, to retain members, especially younger members, we need to work on all of these opportunities and need to improve. Of the 5 non-regional positions, there are only 2 of them where a candidate is not currently on the board. I'm one of those races. And so if you want change, you have to figure out how do you get that change. And one of those ways is in changing the leadership. I really appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much for this opportunity to earn your vote. I appreciate it.
Okay, so moving forward, there were 3 questions that I had posed to all candidates actually, and it's totally optional. There's no requirement to answer it. You can pass. But if you do choose to answer it, this would be a good time, and we'll go one at a time. The first one to John. John, 10 years from now, where do you see MENSA to be in terms of membership numbers?
Okay, well, anybody that can do a regression analysis on our membership since we peaked in 2010 can easily see the numbers declining, and based on a straight line prediction, we're going to be somewhere between 42,000 members, and of course this latest dues increase may well accelerate that. But this is not the right question to be asking. The question is, well, what the heck are we going to do about it? And again, I was not on the membership committee. I was not on the marketing committee. A board member's responsibility is to support the folks that do those jobs and make sure that they're doing what they should, but it's not actually to do it. It is also important when evaluating candidates to pay not only attention to what they say, but also what they do. And what I have done personally to get more members out there and keep existing members happy is I've worked hard to get new members. I've proctored around 200 candidates taking our admission test. I've served as a testing team liaison. I helped Chicago's Rainbow SIG get MENSA's name in front of 1 million people at the annual Pride parades. I've donated money to advertise MENSA on NPR. I've worked MENSA booths at the Minnesota State Fair and local conventions. My car's license plate reads MENSA. It's a rolling advertisement, which is not necessarily a good thing because that means now I got to drive politely because I got this MENSA ad on my car. But I've added value for new members and existing members. I've co-chaired RGs. I've hosted many local events, including one that's now virtual that's been around since the 1960s. I presented on topics at local group monthly gatherings, RGs at the annual gathering. I've helped build local group skills by presenting at multiple leadership development workshops. So it's important not only to just say we need more members, it's actually important to go and do something. And I've done that.
Thank you, John. Thank you. And I think Susan is having some problems with the time, the beeps coming through. So maybe she'll maybe verbally interject and give you a 30-second warning. Is that okay, Susan?
Did y'all hear my last verbal beep?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll keep doing that.
You could also just put it in the chat. That seems to work.
Okay.
Well, you guys might be talking and not here,
Okay. Okay. So Josh, so where do you see us 10 years from now in terms of membership numbers?
Sure. So 10 years out, if you're looking for a specific number, it's really hard to say. We just had an astronomical dues increase. Our dues are up 35%. And we have some challenges. Our website is slow. Like if you go to the website right now, I tried it today and yesterday from my computer, from my phone, a bunch of different devices. It's really slow to load. And the member section of it's even slower, right? So you have the problem with new members looking at this and evaluating it, and with member retention, which is an issue that we have, right? We have a very high percentage of our new members drop off after their first year. We're also having a tough time gaining new members. And I think that a lot of these factors contribute to, right? People ask themselves, what value do I get for my now $107 a year dues? All the events are separate and extra, right? We have fantastic events. The annual gathering is great. The regional gatherings are really cool. There are local group events, which we do have some support for, but if you remember me saying earlier, it's a very small part of our budget. Regarding where we're going to be in 10 years, current leadership is forecasting a decline, but they're hoping that the increased dues can make up for it from a revenue perspective. Yeah, I think that without a change, I'm not too bullish on it, but the opportunities are not too difficult to make these changes that I've suggested. We need to look at the website. We need the website to be faster. We need all the links on it to work. We had an issue a year or two ago where when you tried to, from the members section, to click the link that leads you to the Facebook groups, it didn't work. And I brought this issue up, and it was that way for over a year. We're spending a lot of money on our staff. We're spending a lot of money on our technology. We're spending, I think it's $323,000 on our technology and $200-something thousand on software. We've got to look at this. We've got to make the website faster and work better. We've got to look at our second-year turnover, and we've got to look at ideas for recruiting new people, looking at why that membership drop-off happens, and creative programs for doing that. Maybe we need to subsidize the second year. Maybe we need to provide more value or communicate what the value proposition is, particularly for younger members. And I think if we do that, I think we've got big opportunities.
Okay, so thank you for your answer, Josh. this question, the previous question I had asked was because it was not the, I actually thought of it way before the proposed increase in membership fee. However, I am noticing, fewer younger people than when I went to Boston, my very first AG. There were a whole lot more younger people there. And I seem to have gotten older, which, is normal. I'm sure everybody else notices it, but I kind of just thought I'd put it out there to check what's going on. Okay. The next question is, John, will you ever vote to allow for relaxation of the current MENSA entry requirements on the basis of DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusiveness, or through affirmative action?
Okay, I'm not entirely sure that I understood this in question completely, but first off, would I ever allow relaxation? Well, the fact of the matter is that's not something that the board of directors votes on. This is in the international constitution that basically anybody who scores in the top 2% of a recognized IQ test can become a member. And changing that would require changing the international constitution, which means that every member worldwide would vote on it, not just a board of directors thing. But if the question is, okay, maybe for like diverse candidates, should we say top 5% is good enough? No, I would not support that. That would change the entire complexion of Mensa. There was a guy by the name of Howard Gardner who came up with this theory of multiple intelligences, right? Not just, things measured by an IQ test. So someone might have superb athletic capability or fabulous musical capability or interpersonal relationships or logical mathematics. Anyway, he had a whole bunch of these. And I've heard people say, well, why don't we open it up to those? There's enough controversy around IQ tests. How in the world do you measure who's in the top 2% of musical ability? I think I sound pretty good in the shower, but how do you rate that? So I'm very happy with the current top 2% for everybody and would not personally want to change it.
Thank you. Josh, what would you say on that question?
Sure. So the question of
will you ever allow relaxation, or probably vote for allowing relaxation of the current MENSA entry requirements on the basis of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or through affirmative action?
No, I would not. I think it's important to note, though, that we already have a form of that happening. One of the test scores that MENSA accepts for entry is the LSAT. The components of IQ are complexity of decisions with accuracy in time. If you want to dive really far into what IQ is, it's also working memory, and it's a bit more complicated of a discussion. But for the LSAT, some test takers receive extra time. Tests with extra time for the LSAT specifically used to be annotated, but due to a lawsuit, they no longer are. The connection between LSAT and IQ is tenuous to begin with. Like the LSAT, which is the law school admissions test, is not an IQ test. But with extra time being available, that result is now clearly decoupled. There's been a good amount of writing on this, and I have a lot of information to back that up. You can read about that on my website, which I did put in the chat. I don't think that John's answer is completely correct, because the psychologist decides what tests are accepted. And the psychologist is chosen through the executive director, and the executive director is selected by the board, which is the position that we're running for. So if you choose to allow tests that allow extra time or other types of accommodations, that is the effect that it can have. You can have a loosening effect on the entry requirements. And I think that's something that we need to look at.
Okay. All right. So we're done with those three questions. So we now go to the part to ask each other questions. And
I think you skipped one, Ramdas.
Oh, yes, the third one. Sorry. Yes. So, John, what is the one thing you would do different to improve the experience at the annual gatherings? Sorry about that. I just forgot about the third one.
No worries. Well, one of the things that I have benefited from, because I do participate in Mensa globally, is the fact that I get to see how other people do their annual gatherings, and sometimes they got some really good ideas. I just got back from, well, this is last year's German annual gathering. I was in Stuttgart, and rather than having a big focus on everything happening in the hotel, they focus on fun stuff to see and do in the town they're in. So as an example, I went and toured the brand spanking new Mercedes-Benz factory, where they make their new electric vehicles, Maybachs, and high-end S-Class vehicles. Super cool. You go with a group of Mensa members. You don't have to rent a big bus and pay $50 a person just to get on the bus. You take public transport. I saw where Heinzl and company did heavy water experiments during World War II. Stuff like that. It's amazing to go visit and see and do with a group of Mensa members. Next year, we've got the annual gathering in Chicago. I happen to know the co-chair of that, actually both co-chairs of that, and one of them happens to be my wife. And I'm encouraging, maybe we can do a lot more of this. Take a city bus or an Uber over to the Museum of Science and Industry with a group of Mensas and go nuts. It can really add to the value of an AG experience if we branch out and offer folks some really intriguing looks at the places they are, if they're in a cool place.
Thank you. Josh, what is the one thing you do different to improve the AG experience?
Sure. So we need to do a better job of preventing and reacting to issues. The biggest complaint I hear about the AG is about the food and the snacks. Between a quarter and a third of our registration fees go towards food. Caveat there, I don't believe that's in the budget notes. That was stuff I had scraped together from some meeting notes. If it's a quarter to a third, it simply should be higher. And with that higher allocation, we could go back to providing more meals, even if some people want protein. Many of you have been to an AG. You know that we have some staples. One of them is snacks, especially M&Ms. At recent annual gatherings, we've entirely run out of snacks towards the evening, or just ran out of them completely. Based on many conversations that I've had, the specific issue starts with our hotel contract. Contracts need to have specific, quantifiable, qualitative expectations, and then enforcement of those requirements. Then we have to enforce our contract with the hotel and with the vendors. And then there's reacting to issues that come up. So one of the things that happened in the past was we had some undercooked food, and a lot of people got food poisoning. We need a better process for how to deal with that. Who's responsible? Who's the contact? How do we get that resolved, right? Because you have to recognize, is this an issue? Okay, it looks like an issue. What remediation steps do we take for the safety of people? And in general, we need to take safety at the annual gatherings more seriously. And the main way to do that, or one important step to do that, is we need to communicate in a conspicuous location how you can get help if you have a problem and what you do. It should be communicated when people show up for events. A lot of people are new, right? I understand this stuff has changed with white hats, and I believe the white hats are eliminated now, but people didn't know what they were, and people still won't know. And we need to communicate, how do you deal with something? And we need to then act on those communications.
Okay, thank you, Josh. And John, yes, Susan's family and my family did go on a bay cruise in Baltimore, and I did manage to see the bridge, which no longer exists now. And luckily, I can talk about that. And to your point, Josh, yes, the last time they did run out of stuff at hospitality, especially those who play board games at nights or hang out late would know that. So thank you both for your good points there.
Yeah, we had an AG recently, right, where they literally stopped putting out snacks at night. There was nothing. Blow my mind. The snacks are cheap too, right? Pretzels are cheap.
Yes. Okay. So now we go to the phase where each other can ask questions, and I'll start with John. So there are two questions you can ask. Maybe do it one at a time if you wish. to Josh, whatever questions you want. And only thing I want to say is be polite. It shouldn't be personal, and it should be applicable to Mensa. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll start with this one. In doing my job as RVC4, it was at least a solid half-time job. And I would certainly expect to contribute at least that much time as second vice chair. You run a business, play poker or magician, do all sorts of fun stuff, sounds great. But are you in a position to match that level of dedication for the next 3 years?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, so I've run Josh's Toys and Games for it since 2008. I have a lot of employees and leaders and business processes that I put in place, and my company's run. I'm able to run things remotely. I have the time to dedicate to this position, and I'm already doing a lot of it. Like I'm already very involved with Mensa. In founding Gen Z, man, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that, dealing with that around the events and SIG and the website and all of the opportunities there. So I'm already dedicating a lot of time to Mensa. So in short, the answer is yes, I definitely can dedicate the time required to do well in this position.
Excellent. Now I will switch it over and allow Josh to go ahead and ask John any question that he chooses to.
Okay. John, according to our audited financials from the year end 2023, we spent $613,000 on public relations, which was up from $546,000 year end 2022. That presumably includes employee and non-employee contribution, and our functional public relations expenses were only $21,000 for 2023 and $5,000 for 2022 for the same document. Further, according to our budget, we only spend about $60,000 on marketing, yet we have between 2 and 4 employees dedicated to it. You have been on the board for 7 years. This seems really out of whack to me. Why has this happened for so long? Why do these numbers seem so off?
Okay, well, if you're objecting to spending money on marketing, I'm not sure exactly what the complaint is there. I'm not on the finance committee, but I read the financial statements just like everybody else. I personally asked a question during the budget discussion at the March AMC meeting. We just put out a survey to current members, past members, prospective members about their thoughts on Mensa, and their goal was to learn more so we can figure out how to direct our marketing. And I pointed out that their marketing expense, or the advertising expense, excuse me, was dropped from like $87,000 down to $72,000. Don't quote me on those exact numbers, but order of magnitude, it was like, well, okay, you're wanting to learn how to market, but then you're cutting your advertising budget. What the heck is up with that? Budgets are created with the officers involved. So we have a marketing officer who works with the marketing people on the national office. They work together to create the budget. That budget is then looked at big picture and say, where do we cut stuff and where can we add stuff? And in the end, they come out with a budget resolution that we as 15 voting members get to say yes or no to. I know in some cases we have contract people working. So some of that's going to be direct outside expense for their salaries.
Okay, but doesn't it seem off that we have a director of marketing communications, a marketing specialist, a communications specialist, and an art director? Those people are on our payroll, but the total marketing spend last year, I think, was $60K, and the year before was $55,000. The average pay, including benefits, is just under $70,000 each. That amount of marketing spend per employee, even if it's just the two, it's clearly at least the two. Doesn't that seem way off? Like it's so far off. That's got to raise flags.
I'm sorry, was that your second question, or?
It's a follow-up to the first question.
Well, again, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was writing down the questions what some audiences were saying. I missed that part. So yeah, I think he asked you a follow-up thing. You want to just go and reply to that, and then I'll go to the second one.
Okay, well, again, you just spewed a bunch of numbers, and I would have to go back and look at the specifics to be able to give you an informed answer. But again, I don't like the fact that the advertising budget was cut, and we do have a lot of contract people that work on things, and I like the fact that we're spending money on promoting the Mensa brand, because otherwise, you say you want more members, that's how you get them.
No, what I'm saying is we spend too much money on the employees and not enough on the actual marketing. That's
Okay.
and for the record, of that $55,000 to $60,000, only $6,000 of that is outside contract services. $10,000 of it is just called public relations expense, and that's what it is.
And that's fair. And I, again, have introduced a motion to cut back on administrative and general, aka the overhead costs that you're talking about. So I have actually taken action on some of those points. So I don't think we necessarily disagree that we need to spend more on the actual, social media marketing and whatever else we can spend to attract those new members.
Okay. You guys will have a second question to go on. And thank you for the time warning, Susan. So John, do you have a second question for Josh, please?
Well, okay, I want to drill down a little bit. You mentioned this opinion about the testing being broken, and I want to say that I disagree, but I'm assuming you don't disagree. So let me follow up. Exactly how is the second vice chair going to change this? Are you going to propose a motion to fire our professional licensed supervisory psychologist because you're right and she's wrong? And you state we should be developing our own admission test. Were you not aware somehow that Mensa International has been working on developing Mensa admission tests for the last several years?
So there are two parts to your question. The first part, sorry, could you just re-ask the first part there?
Sure. The question was, you don't like what our licensed supervisory professional said, so are you going to fire her? What are you going to do?
Yeah, great question. So no, I don't think that coming in with a sledgehammer is good leadership. I think it needs to be looked at and evaluated. I think that perhaps this is something we haven't even considered. Maybe the psychologist hasn't considered this. I think our psychologist, I don't know for sure how long they've been around, but I don't think that they were the one who made the original decision to start accepting the test. So maybe it's just something that hasn't been considered, and that could be reasonable. It could be as simple as having a conversation, which I understand is generally done through the executive director, but it should be evaluated and analyzed and looked at. We should look at what type of testing that we accept, and if it appears to make logical sense that those things are indeed IQ tests. And so I want to approach it from a position of a conversation, understand the situation fully, and then decide on action from there. But I think that this thing is broken. It's been going on for a while. I've been talking about this with people in leadership with no action, and that's why I'm running for this position of leadership. Regarding a test that we may be developing, the problem here is that a lot of this stuff is behind a black box. The conversations that I've had with Mensa leadership is that we had the test leaked at some point, and that's a big reason for not wanting to.
It was not. Sorry. Fake news.
Okay. And that the cost was prohibitive of creating the test. This is counter to a conversation that I had with someone that you work with in Mensa, that I had a conversation with them recently, and they told me that developing our own test is just straight up cost prohibitive, and they don't seem to be aware of this test that Mensa International is developing. So I think it stems back to what I'm talking about with transparency and having the members understand what actually is going on. Where are we spending the money? What are we doing? What are we not doing? Like, where's that in the budget? If Mensa International is developing a IQ test, I think that's fantastic and is a great idea. And I hope that we keep doing that.
Okay, thank you for that. And I guess it also has to do with how much money we spend on testing or licensing a year also. So Josh, your second question, please, to John.
Yeah. When you look at the social media presences that we have, the types of posts that we make, they're very generic and they look very agency created. I went back through the last several years and looked at all of the Instagram posts that we had. And the one time somebody asked a question, we got a qualified lead for somebody that asked about Mensa. It took us, I think it was 5 weeks to get back to them. This doesn't seem like the right way to go. The website's slow, and there's a general feeling that leadership is hard to crack into. It's hard to make changes and to get stuff done in Mensa. How are we going to attract the future leaders of Mensa? And do you think it's relevant that the website is slow and that the social media, it seems like it needs some work? And might that be part of what the future leadership looks like and how to recruit them and retain them?
I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, the website has had its ups and downs. It was better a few weeks ago. Right now, it seems to be kind of atrocious. I don't pay a lot of attention to the social media because it's not directed at me because I'm already a member, so I don't see a lot of that stuff in my feeds. It can always be better. The question is, if we're going to spend resources here, it's got to come from somewhere else. Right now, I don't know if this is 100% factual, but I don't think our national office is that much smaller than it was when we peaked out in 2010 with 15-20% more members than we have today. Could we potentially look at outsourcing some functions that are currently done by the national office? If you look around the world, American Mensa, we're losing members, but all the other not all of them, many national Mensans like Germany and France, they're adding members. France, I think, has quadrupled in the last few years. Germany's doubled their numbers. We need to be looking at what they're doing and figuring out how we can replicate some of that stuff. And in fact, a few years back, I promoted an idea, and I got it. This was even before I was on the AMC. I got the AMC to issue vouchers to every member that they could give to a friend or a family member, a coworker, for a free test, a free prior evidence submission, good old viral marketing. And unfortunately, I don't think it was very well executed by the national office and it fizzled out. But, we got to start thinking outside the box and directing our money at ways that are going to be effective. And, social media can well be one of them.
Thank you. So now we go to the part where I'm going to ask questions from what the audience has been asking.
And Ramdas, again, I got a hard stop here pretty quick, so we're way over time.
So Robert asks, what measures can be taken to replace paid staff with volunteers?
Is that to whom?
To both of you, starting with you.
Okay. I have long been an advocate of having volunteers supplement and work alongside the national office. I know from the national office perspective, they tend to be a little leery about that because the quality of the volunteer opposite their paid professional member, let's just say it varies. Sometimes you get somebody who is extremely knowledgeable about the subject, is very engaged, works very, very hard, and is a real benefit to everything that happens in that particular area. Other times they may come in strong and then somehow disappear, and now the national office is kind of left holding the bag. So where we have to get better at is when you start with a strategy, you got to put some programs to that that will implement the strategy, and then you have projects that implement the programs, and you need to have some tracking that would really help identify how these committees and projects and everything are going. And when things are not going or not going well, then we have leadership step in to fix things. If you look at my last governance task force report associated with the last AMC meeting in March, it's a whole different format than I'm proposing we use for projects that explicitly say, you know, here's our deliverables, here's when they're supposed to get done. And then, you know, if they're not happening, we can pay attention and make some updates. So that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Josh.
So you basically, Robert, what you're saying is perhaps we could replace some employees with volunteers. I think it's easier said than done. I think we have a lot of volunteers and I think they're doing really fantastic jobs in the positions that we are. For those that have been involved in a local group or in a SIG or something, probably know it is tough to find extra people to step up and to take on those responsibilities. I do think one main area for that would be social media. Our staff is clearly not doing a good job. You really just couldn't do worse. If somebody responded to the messages or posted more thoughtful things more regularly about other stuff, like when businesses post only business related things directly on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, they don't get high engagement and the algorithm treats you worse. Younger members in particular understand this well, and I think they could really supplement the national office staff by doing that, and I think it's cheap and free. And perhaps also there should be some crossover. Like maybe the national office staff should work more in conjunction with the members. I mean, John said right now there's kind of a friction to doing that, and they're definitely, I understand the quality concerns. But
Okay.
yeah, maybe there should be compensation tied to it. Maybe I think a big thing though is that the national office staff is saying that they do more than they do.
Thank you. And the second question from Dan Nolan is, since both of you were voted against the, or are principally opposed to the increase in the annual membership fee, what would you do to roll back dues to a more reasonable amount if you do get elected?
Unfortunately, our bylaws make dues changes very, very difficult. They have to be, you know, the exact same wording and in 2 meetings subsequent to each other, and et cetera, et cetera. And quite frankly, if that position hadn't been in place, I guarantee you there was enough sentiment on the board that we would have knocked that $107 at least down to 99. But unfortunately, the bylaws tied our hands and we couldn't do that. You know, again, you're asking something that would not be in the purview of the second vice chair. That is something that would come from the finance committee. Of course, any AMC member can make a motion, and as long as you get a second, it'll be debated. But you know, ultimately, this would need to come from the treasurer, who looks at those numbers. And you know, I personally think that if the initial readings on our membership drop based on these new dues numbers is anywhere near what I think it may be, we're going to have to take action one way or another. So, you know, whether it's me or the treasurer or the marketing guy or somebody making a motion to reduce them, if it turns out to be a bad thing, then yeah, we'll have to take that action.
Thank you. Josh?
I would begin to, after an evaluation period, begin that process of reducing the dues. But outside of that, there are creative ways to get things done. For example, let's say that those dues were absolutely locked, right? Clearly, unless there's a lot of change, it can be tough to convince the rest of the board to make that change. But perhaps we could offer a credit or a discount or a promotion for new membership. Perhaps we can offer inexpensive, free, reduced rate testing, first year, second year memberships, renewals. Those things may be able to be passed easier from a budgetary and governing perspective and would have the effect of reducing dues without reducing dues per those exact language in the bylaws. And that might be a way to get some stuff done faster. And it would also be a faster way to react should our new membership numbers go down. I mean, we might start to get the first numbers over the next month or two. You could quickly put in a promo that gives people $22, whatever it is, off, and a lot of opportunities, a lot of different ways to do it.
A final question from Lily Noonan. You said in your statement, John, that you want to improve member value. What specific plans do you have in motion right now to improve member value? And similarly for Josh, what plans would you implement to improve member value?
Okay, again, I've got a hard stop here any second now, so we need to wrap this up. But in any case, let me briefly address the question. You know, as a regional vice chair, one of the things that you get engaged with is how to make the member experience better on a local basis. And I actually even put on a leadership development workshop talking all about how to make the membership experience better. I think there are a lot of local groups that fall into this trap of, you know, oh yeah, the second Tuesday of every month, we're going to go to the Olive Garden because they got unlimited breadsticks. And that's a great thing. It gets old super fast. You know, there are some groups in my region who have done things like laser light shows and bike tours and beer pub outings and visits to Frank Lloyd Wright houses and going to the opera and taking architecture tours and all this cool stuff. And we need to start getting that sort of thing going at the local group level. In addition, I've been very pleased to see on the national basis increases in the virtual offerings that have been created because not everybody can go to a local group event. You know, certainly we need to continue our terrific gatherings, local, regional, and even international. So that's my brief thoughts on that.
Thank you. And Josh?
To increase the value for members, I think we should primarily look to reduce costs, because a lot of the things that we do are in-person events, annual gatherings, regional gatherings, local groups. Specifically, for the local groups, though, we should have a higher percentage of our money going to the local groups. Perhaps we could even subsidize gatherings like the AG, something to look at. But I would primarily like to see the overhead cut, the dues decreased, so people can focus spending on events and things that provide direct, tangible value. I think people will find more value in I paid X and I received Y directly. I think that would be a lot easier to communicate and a lot more palatable.
Okay, so that ends the debate, Zoom call today with one thing. Volunteering is very hard. People who step up to run for these things must be respected, because everybody can sit on their chair and complain to their heart's content. We have to appreciate that people are doing stuff. And my deepest thanks to both of you and to everybody else who are running. And continue doing what you're going to do. And last thing from McLaughlin report, I wanted to just say predictions. Okay, my prediction is that the eclipse tomorrow will not be the end of the world. And if you both want to do some predictions, go for it.
I predict that I got to leave because I got a speaker event right now. So thank you very much for coming.
Bye, John.
Appreciate it. Good night.
Thank you, John.
Josh, you got a prediction?
Thank you for your time around this, and John, I really appreciate it. My prediction is, imagine if the Mensa store had sold Eclipse glasses like Josh's did. That would have been a good revenue opportunity, and we did not do that. And I've got a lot of ideas like that we should do. So.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. I hope you
have fun, guys. Thank you.
Bye now.